afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our panel on how to build billion-dollar companies. So, we all know that Europe produces incredible talent, world-class research, engineers, yet too many companies manage to scale globally. So, today we'll talk about why this happens, where companies get stuck, and what it actually takes to build global companies from Europe to the outside world. And we brought together four brilliant experts. We have Stefan Drüschler from Unternehmertum in Germany, one of Europe's leading innovation and entrepreneurship hubs. We have Jure Mikush, who's the managing partner of South Central Ventures, investing in high growth tech companies across Europe. We have Stjepan Orešković, founder of Boskar Invest and Future 500, with experience building businesses across more than 23 countries. And we have Vlatko Matijević, co-founder and CEO of Orca FPV, a Croatian hardware company building FPV and drone tech products. So, gentlemen, let's start with the big picture. Europe doesn't have a talent problem. Europe has more of a scale problem. What are the biggest roadblocks that prevent deep tech innovations from reaching the market faster? And maybe, Stefan, we can start with you.
Yeah, I mean, first, I think it's normal, right? We just develop this innovation and startup ecosystem. That's great. We see so many startups. So now it takes some time to develop a great scale up ecosystem. So nothing to really worry about if we focus on building up this ecosystem really now and at all. And I think what is really missing is money, investment, the big investment possibilities in Europe. And then the second thing is access to companies, access to corporates that really work with the startups and help them scale to establish this innovation ecosystem in Europe.
Thank you. Jure, what's your take on that?
Yeah, sorry, but I would agree with that. Although I would say what we might, if we miss some of the regulation, it might help.
Okay. Regulation, capital constraint. Stjepan?
I think we should stop pleasing ourselves and also explaining why the things can be better in a way. Europe has a talent. We are fantastic. Everyone has a talent. Forget it. China has a talent. US has a talent. So the question is why and how they grow, and we can't. And the answer is not simple. But before addressing this seriously and then seeing how we can change the things, we can continue saying, yeah, we are beautiful, we are talented, we'll stay small.
Yeah. So, action. And Vlatko?
Uh, I would say it's a mix of all of the things that the others said, but primarily I would say that the European money is not brave enough.
Okay. So it's more about confidence building.
Yeah, I would say so.
Good. I like that. Stefan, over to you. Why is Europe strong in research, but still rather weak in scaling companies commercially?
I mean, I wish I would perfectly know because I don't know, maybe it's like a mindset thing. We were strong in research and maybe we thought that's enough. And we had, I mean, Europe was very prosperous, right? It was great like in the past years. So we had great companies and we were focusing on that and everything was really good. And maybe we just missed this opportunity to build the next generation. Now, if we look at the current big companies, right, they're all very old. So where are the new companies? Where was the innovation? Maybe it was not part of our culture, but I feel that's changing tremendously now. And I mean, the Podim conference is a proof for that. And so many like activities and governments are focusing on startups. And I think we are kind of working on this mind shift now that we really understand we need to build up this new ecosystem, these new kind of companies.
And I think you mentioned it very well with all these avenues for founders to pitch, to access capital meetings. I think is developing the right direction, right?
Absolutely.
Stjepan, over to you. You've built companies for across 23 plus years and countries. What are the biggest operational barriers to scaling from Europe that you have witnessed throughout the years?
I think the biggest problem to maybe stay focused on talent and technologies for the future is that when you have people, and I'm thinking about people sitting in the room here, you know, I know so many people, some of them are my friends, that are incredible talent geniuses in technologies, creating patents and solutions for globally demanding systems like NASA or CERN. But they really don't have a clue about anything else except creating patent or technology. And they will never grow beyond 20 million euro because they underestimate the complexity of knowledge, how you grow, the complexity of understanding financing, understanding branding, understanding need to be beautiful, everything what makes big company big. And so you have people that emotionally reject to learn and share anything except what they are talented for. And the complexity of the system and knowledge you need to grow is equally demanding to creating a fantastic patent. That's my understanding.
And maybe that relates very well to the next question, and that's to all of you. How we can better connect capital, universities, industries to build global companies from day one, even shifting the mindset. Jure, maybe you can start with you.
Um, I think that it starts at the universities, right? I think that the old economy or the corporations should be more embedded into this startup ecosystem. That's rule number one. If you see even the audience at this conference, I don't see many logos of the big established companies here. Um, we don't see, and there's another layer of this when you talk to the academia and you talk to you see the startup ecosystem. There's not much overlap between the two of them. There's a lot of IP that's been developed. At least I'm talking for Slovenia. A lot of IP that's been developed in the public research space that's never been commercialized because the people are not incentivized to do the startups to grow the businesses out of those technologies and so on. And at the end, yes, it comes to the capital, but I don't think that capital is a problem at this moment. I think that there's enough capital, especially for the early stage, to cover the initial stages of those startups. There's maybe lack of boldness among in the corporate world to support startups and to look for more partnerships, acquisitions, whatever. That's another layer. But maybe it's a philosophical thing. But Europe in general, if you look at the corporations in Europe and you compare this to US, the level of innovation or big technology breakthroughs in Europe is pretty low. So I'm wondering who can learn more from. I mean, which part can learn more from these partnerships?
So, here we talk more about the proper integration level between corporations and startups to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, just be more pragmatic, on all sides, right? If you're a corporation and you want to learn something more, you need to be, you shouldn't be uh, you should look for knowledge even with in this community here, not just look for some established advisory
Yeah.
companies to help you out of your problem.
Vlatko, what do you think?
I would say there's one of these answers I'm reading here. It says, we don't think big enough. It's a mindset problem. I would say that also plays a big part of why there aren't more tech giants. And I can tell it from my own experience. When we started the company, honestly, me personally, I was never imagining that we will be where we are today. Uh, I would say luckily, but it's not pure luck. It's a lot of work behind it. The mindset of all of us has changed, and today we really believe and we really are aiming towards becoming a tech giant. And I know a lot of young people or the young entrepreneurs who are just starting the business, they do not think big enough. They do not believe that they can do it on such a huge scale. I would say it's a mindset problem of Europeans in general.
Okay. Stefan, do you think it's a mindset problem? And maybe if you do, how can we fix that?
Definitely is a mindset problem. And I think we need to work on making basically all the universities entrepreneurial. I believe that, every talent studying at a university must have the chance to be engaged with entrepreneurship, right? You must make this decision that there is the possibility and you must have the role models. And, I mean, there are so many great startups here. So everyone must be able to see them and see that this is an opportunity. And then if we made all the universities entrepreneurial, right, and all this talent more entrepreneurial, we need to overcome the market barriers in Europe, right? Europe is quite complicated with many countries, many languages. We all need to work on overcoming them. And again, like Podim and this conference and bringing so many people from so many countries to one place, this is the right thing to do, to get to know each other, to build this one European ecosystem where we just know each other and support each other. And there are some regulatory topics, right, where we can reduce the regulatory burdens to create a more unified European market. But then also we should not fall into the trap to complain, say, yeah, it all doesn't work because Europe is so complicated. No, there are many things that we can already do. And we asked ourselves, so just in regards for our startups and for our scale-ups in Munich, we said, what do they need now? They need this European market. They need access to corporates from all over Europe. And if I don't know, a startup in the semiconductor industry needs access to, they don't want to enter a market, they want to have access, for example, to ASML. I cannot help them right now from Munich. But our friends from Eindhoven, they help their startups connect to their local corporates. So maybe they also could help my startups, and maybe vice versa. I could help them connect to Siemens or BMW or German Mittelstand. We need to work together, like the hubs and around the universities, to build this ecosystem to support our best startups and scale ups to the corporate world in whole Europe.
Thank you. And I would like to encourage the audience while the panel is going, you can still use the Podim app and ask questions to our panelists. We'll have a Q&A session at the very end of the panel. Stepan, over to you. Through Future 500, what structural gaps are you trying to solve across Europe?
Everything what was mentioned and even more. But our thinking is the following. Because when I attend these conferences and then you listen all these arguments again and again, and honestly, for our project, we agreed that if every conference we organize will not be a clear step ahead towards the objective we want to achieve, we'll cancel. I don't want to spend any second of my life listening the same discussion around and around. And so what we want to achieve are the following things. First, European Union's economy was in 2008 110% GDP of American economy. It was 10% bigger than US economy. And we simply forget that. Why we should not forget that? Because of two reasons. One is that history is not carved in the stone. Who knows how the picture would look like in 2040? The second one is why and what is responsible that we lost the game at this moment. And so far, the first serious document we had was Draghi and then Letta, and it's serious. It's not a blah blah again. It's good diagnosis and it's even recommendation. What should be done? But then the next question for us was, what is missing? What is missing is a, a that's a theater. Try to think about that in that terms. That's a theater, and we miss in the theater, in the script, we miss the main player. It's like Othello without Othello, you know. So what? Who is the main player? The main player are entrepreneurs and companies. It's very European thinking that you have system, you have solutions, you have laws. Everything is there except the main player. And when you read Draghi's report, I said this publicly in Brussels, and they told me, no, that's not possible. It is. Mentioning entrepreneur in the document is 7 times, and not single one mentioning is original meaning of entrepreneur. So how you would have economy growing and resolving the problems they want to resolve without entrepreneurs and without companies? And that's not by chance. And so our question was how we can develop methodology to select high growth companies that would become future winners, and how to put everything behind that companies. And they are not the ones that are darlings of politics, financing, subsidies, even competitiveness fund, because everything is leaning towards supporting the past. Why? Because the power is behind the past. They are electing politicians, they are appointing governments, they are appointing commissioners. I'm simplifying, but actually not. So we need to create something disruptive that would bring to the scene the companies that really has the potential to become global players, and then ask them what you need, how we can serve you. And I will end with that. You know, in American, there is a say, don't let the middleman guide the play. In Europe, the middlemen are the most important characters in the theater. And don't forget, Shakespeare was a very successful entrepreneur.
Thank you.
Sorry, too long, but
But important. Jure, you manage over 150 million euro across Europe. Where do startups most often plateau, and why? What are the reasons behind that?
Um, First, I would say it, I mean, naturally, it's the mindset, right? I think that if you start building your company with an ambition of having a nice life, financial independence, and so on, then you're probably not going to build $1 billion company, because your ambition will stop or slow down at the moment when you see that you've taken care of your basic expectations, or I don't know, yachts or houses, whatever. When you talk to the American entrepreneurs, there's an obvious difference, that they tell you that how their ambition is much bigger. I think that it goes back to the educational system in probably primary schools, high schools, that supports such mindset of thinking big, thinking global. Um, and this is one of the reasons. The second reason is that it's really hard work, and maybe this is not mentioned too often, but for all that of you that are entrepreneurs, you see it and you know that if you tell somebody that you're a startup founder, it sounds sexy, but it's not. It's hard work, and I'm not sure that everybody's willing to put such a big effort into making it big, and so on and so on. I mean, there's a number of reasons why European companies plateau at some point. Definitely the one market. Europe is a much more fragmented market. Unfortunately, at this point of time, if you want to build $1 billion company, you cannot ignore US or Asia. It's very difficult to do it just for European markets. And that means that you'll need to move some of part of your operations to US. Um, Funding, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's getting much better, but still, you can't raise a $5 billion round in Europe. It's virtually impossible. You can do this in US. Um, so yeah, I think these are the main reasons.
So, in the same vein, how would you tell if a given business is on its way of becoming $1 billion company?
Sorry.
Can you spot, in your experience, can you spot from the beginning if a given business can become a
Oh yeah.
billion-dollar company?
I I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't dare to say this, particularly not in this moment of time. Because Um, I'll just mention AI again and all the agents. It's extremely difficult, but we do see we can recognize patterns in the founder's behavior, and we can see whether their ambition goes beyond what I was telling you earlier from very early on. And then during our investment or engagement with the company, we can see how the management, the founders are developing. Are they willing to change the roles in the company? Are they willing to onboard some more experienced management team to maybe cover the part of the business that they're good at and not just be clinching to the CEO positions and stuff like that? So it's not just one-time event, I would say. It's more a monitoring of the development of the company and then adjusting the structure of the team.
Stefan, Unternehmertum, I, I hope I pronounced that correctly,
Perfect.
produces constantly globally scalable and competitive companies. What do you do differently? And I can see here a question from our audience. Is there something these organizations could optimize to help?
So yeah, thank you. Und Unternehmertum is a wordplay. It's German. It means entrepreneurship. And TUM is like the Technical University of Munich. And there was a wordplay because we are the incubator, the entrepreneurship center of the Technical University in Munich. And I think this is what makes it so special, right? Because there's also the a question about talents and education. This is where it all starts. You need, and we heard it so often here in the discussion, right? You need these talents. You need the entrepreneurs. This is the most important thing. So you need to inspire people about entrepreneurship. And I was a student actually at the Technical University myself. So, and there was like, and it's quite some time ago, and there was like a course called Business Plan Seminar. And you had a project work and you kind of played around with forming a team and developing a business plan. And it was really great because this was the first time to get in touch with this entrepreneurship and not like have a lecture how to do that, but really by practicing it and doing it and receiving feedback and pitching it, and then you continue and then you continue. And so what Unternehmertum, it was founded in 2002. I think we did differently. It didn't stop there, but it said, okay, now we have entrepreneurs and they want to do something. They want to do more. So now we help them create startups. And once they created startups, we helped to scale these startups, to accelerate these startups, right? And then we said, okay, now they're coming to an end of their scaling opportunities because at that time in Munich, there was basically no venture capital. Unternehmertum was entrepreneurial itself and said, okay, then let's start an own venture capital fund. Okay, so we raised 25 million euros many years ago, and there was a lot of hard work at that time, but that helped us to fill this gap. And this is what I meant at the beginning with just doing and closing gaps and not complaining and waiting, but just doing and acting. And what is very special about the Munich ecosystem, it's very tech and deep tech heavy. And for once, of course, it's like the technical university. So you would expect deep tech startups coming out of this university, but then also Munich has a very strong industrial backbone with very strong large companies, but also a very strong Mittelstand. So you already have this ecosystem for very strong B2B. And then it was also our task to activate this ecosystem because at that time for a company, they didn't know what entrepreneurship means. That word wasn't there yet, right? And the startups weren't there yet. So then it was our task to bring these worlds together. So you have like the talents, you have the companies, you have the investments, which we were one of them, one investors, right? And you bring this ecosystem together. I think this is what made Unternehmertum in the ecosystem special.
Thank you for the detailed explanation. I hope this answers the question. And Vlatko, now over to you. You have a case study. You mentioned it yourself. You built a global brand from small home markets. How did that happen? Can you guide us through the process?
Well, I would probably need 10 times the time that we have today to tell the whole story. But in short, we didn't uh, try to find a way to escape from our hometown. It is Osijek in the east of Croatia. Not much was happening there at that time. We actually used this to our benefit because at that time this was a very, very cheap place to live and work and to get the workforce. it was much cheaper than to try to do it, I don't know, in Munich or in Silicon Valley or in Switzerland, wherever. So I'm saying this over and over. One of the reasons why we succeeded is that our cost base was really low in the beginning, where when every cent really counts. But if I may take a minute to bring another aspect of what everybody is talking about, and I'm coming from the hardware business, uh, and one thing that nobody seems to mention is that in order to make a hardware business really huge, you need really good ecosystems system of different companies, partner companies, which are doing parts for your big game, right? So you cannot do everything by yourself. You cannot make, you shouldn't be making a screw and nut and a screwdriver by yourself. You should be able to get it from specialized companies. So in order to succeed, you need really good, healthy ecosystem of partners. Not all of these companies will or should become huge, but in order, I believe that behind any giant are is a number of very good businesses, everyone specialized and very good in what they're doing. That's what we learned when we started. We had that naive idea of, we'll do everything locally. Let's try to close the supply chain in around 100 kilometers from where we are. Quickly, we found out how naive that was, and that you cannot buy certain things, not even on our continent, not on even on this part of a globe. So I believe in order to succeed on a huge scale, you need a number of very well and healthy partners around you. That's what China has. Whatever you need, you just go round the corner, you can get it. That's the key to success, if you ask me.
And there's a interesting question from the audience in relation to the topic. Do you see the Western Balkans as only a manufacturing region or also as a place where globally scalable deep tech products can develop?
Oh, well, absolutely no, absolutely not. We are not that, but I believe that uh, all the EU countries, the EU as one, should embrace manufacturing and not push it away, because it's shown to be a bad recipe. Because now it became to the point where almost nothing can be made here. We have to buy everything from abroad. So I believe we should have healthy mix of manufacturing and innovation, and that needs to happen all at the same place. If we just are pushing away stuff from us, and like, we will sell know-how and we will buy the rest from someone else, I don't think that's the right way.
And maybe one last thing while we are on the topic. What things did you have to unlearn in the process as a founder in order to scale?
Oh, that's a cool question. I personally had to unlearn myself from having absolute control over every the tiniest part of the process, and that for me it was quite an interesting journey, uh, because we started from only 3-person team, and we, of course, we did everything by ourselves. And slowly, as the team grew, currently we are at around 230 employees. As the team grew, you had to learn to let it go, to actually delegate certain things to the people you trust and to let them do it. And you need to believe in people that they will do their best to do what they're needed to do.
Interesting. Thank you. Stepan, my next question for you is, what is the most common mistake founders make when transitioning from startup to scale ups? Can you give some examples from your experience?
I think everyone makes his own mistakes, and there are hundreds of possible. But I already answered that question. I think the basic one is that you believe that you know everything because you know something. So if you are genius and you can create a patent, that's fantastic. You can have even a Nobel Prize for the science, but that does not mean that you really know how to grow a big company and that this patent would become globally successful. That's another story, you know. But from point of view, and there is a question I think maybe addresses part of what we do. The one that says that AI and deep tech are not implemented in traditional industries like agriculture. Our group will finish, I think, the year with agribusiness sector with probably 700 million euro revenues, and the whole group was started in 2019 with uh, maybe 6-7 million euro. So we grew in 6 or 7 years to over €1 billion revenues this year. And so when I look backwards, I think the rules are very strict. This is not like just going to Swedish table and take the food you like. You have to do many things in a very strict way if you want to go fast and grow big. Um, and I think, for example, we wouldn't become billion euro company without going public. No way. And then you can say there are 1% that are big and not public. Yes, okay, but at the end they will go public. So that's, for example, one of 6 or 7 things I think you should do if you really want to grow. And then the alternative is I like my baby and I don't want to share with anyone. It's so beautiful that even it won't go to kindergarten, not to the high school or the university. That's one of the startup philosophies that keep you having your baby only for yourself. When we say a boss car, it's thousands of people. It's not just my wife and I, Manica sitting here, who started this. And it's more beautiful for me having this feeling of thousands of people sharing the Boscar group than being only us. And that's where I see the 10 billion. But there are many things within that are really very fixed obstacles for growth for the companies from Central and Eastern Europe. The European Union is still designed for the old families, big countries, and all industries. And if you look into how much capital goes for the companies in the Central and Eastern Europe, and then you compare this to where was the growth, everything is clear. The growth was in Central and Eastern Europe last 10 years. It was more than double than old Western. When you look how much investment capital was going and where, you see just the opposite story. So I mean, I can be interested in this in a very general terms, but I am also looking into that from Boscar perspective. We know that if we can't find the capital outside of the rules that someone designed for us, we will stay 1 billion. So we should break this in a systemic way, and we should break it each company one by one. But if you stay every day with guys that are selling baklavas, it's most probably that you are selling baklavas. If you today meet guys that are financing 10 billion companies, it's most probable that you will become 10 billion.
It's important who you surround
Yeah.
yourself with. Thank you. And Jurem, where do you think the next wave of unicorns all across Europe, I mean, maybe even out of sea, is being born in the next decade or so?
If I knew that, I would invite all of you to invest in my next fund. Would be a great return, I promise. I don't know. I just think that definitely the landscape is changing. Definitely, we are seeing some emerging centers, hubs that are becoming much more important, and also the audience of this conference shows you that people are coming here to this part of Europe with a very obvious ambition, seeing that some talent is emerging from this part of the world. Like, Orca is a great example of this. And we have some other companies, even from our portfolio, that are doing great job conquering global markets. But that would be maybe just one thing regarding those $1 billion companies. Um, One thing is grow your company to the level where you raise enough capital to have a valuation of $1 billion company. It doesn't stop here. Um, we've seen many cases in the recent couple of months or even years where companies have raised tremendous amounts of capital at the valuations which exceeded 1 billion or even 10 billion. But due to the technology shifts, they overnight they became almost obsolete. And you need to be very careful to take care that the company that the development doesn't stop here. If you want to build solid business which is robust and which is sustainable, you need to transform your company from startup to grow, to the growth stage. Then think about the public markets. Only when you're on public markets, your employees will be able to monetize the stock options that you have. You will come on the radar of big institutional investors who are only investing in public markets, and then you become a corporation. And I think that if we want to transform the structure of the economy in Europe, we need more publicly listed technology companies. That's my point. If you look at the structure of the um, Dow Jones Industrial Index in US and compare it to 15, 20 years ago, it's a complete change. If you look at DAX in Germany 20 years ago and now, it's the same. So I think that in order to grow Europe and to develop Europe to the stage where we can say that Europe has caught up with US, we need more tech-based, technology companies that are listed and becoming listed, publicly listed technology giants.
Thank you. Stefan, there's a question from the audience. Based on the German ecosystem situation, would you say Europe is ready for the scaling of deep tech startups, capital wise, legal wise, and opportunity wise?
Yes, I would say we are definitely not there yet, but we are getting there. I really believe that we must be optimistic and we must just work on it and then we must make it done, right? What stops us? So let's just get Europe ready for the scaling of deep tech startups and make Europe the best place to start and scale a company. This is what we need to achieve. So let's work on that. But we're not there yet. And it's capital wise, legal wise, and opportunity wise. But capital wise, yes, the big scaling capital is still missing. There is enough money in Europe per se, but it's not allocated in the right thing. So to invest into the next generation, invest in venture capital, right? To invest into these kind of companies. That's a problem. We need to change that. Then money would be there. There are some activities like the European Commission is launching the Scale Up Europe Fund. This will hopefully contribute to closing this scale up gap. Also attract more capital. Then we need to work on activating more capital from family offices and so on. So I think if everyone is working on that, capital is there, we need to reallocate that. Legal wise, yeah, Europe is complicated, right? It's 27 countries, 27 different jurisdictions. There is now this EU Inc. and 28th regime activity that will hopefully help to establish or contribute to establish one European market for startups and scale ups. This will definitely help. It's really good. Opportunity wise, yeah, sometimes it's a little bit weird because we are so, I don't know, pessimistic as Europeans, right? We always go, why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it work? And then now I see like so many people from the US coming and say, and trying to invest. Like investors come to Europe, accelerators come to Europe. There seems to be this opportunity that they already see that now we must also see and realize. It's good that money is coming in also from the US, also from China, but we must make sure that it's our own investment, right? That we can benefit from that. And then obviously, like that investors from outside Europe really are so interested in Europe now, really is the proof that there are so many opportunity. So let's just believe in that and really focus on building up our own ecosystem.
And maybe to finalize the panel with that, on that positive note, what's one collaboration model Europe should copy or lend and develop itself to speed up deep tech impact here? Maybe Vatko, we can start with you.
Hmm. That's a
It's a
tough one.
difficult question.
That's a tough one. Honestly, I'm probably not the best person to answer these questions. I'm not from the finance sector, but I don't know. I mean, I would rather than speculating around about this, I would just want to say before I have seen one question: why are the many European businesses leaving too early? And there is a simple question: because the valuations that US based businesses are getting in the EU are multiple times lower than what they would get in the US, and that's a known fact. So the company that is valued at 100 million in the EU would probably be valued at 1 billion in the US, or whatever multiple you can use. So it's obvious. Some people would say, okay, let's go to the US to get to the better valuation. That's the reason.
Thank you. Stepan?
I would rather answer the question we got here: why academia and companies are not working together. And I think whatever we discuss, just opposite where the world is going, pushed by these crazy populist movements, trust in scientific methodologies, everything I believe we need. Everything what we discuss now, whatever we say, there is a scientific paper, there is an answer, there is a knowledge. And now entrepreneurship and science, they are not two different stories. It's the same thing. It's becoming more and more same thing. What DeepMind and Anthropic are doing now, it's business, but it's biology, it's science. So I think what we can't afford is to answer any question, including the questions we got today, without asking ourselves what is the best evidence, what is the most logical thing, what is the best scientific knowledge about that. And then including why Europe can't or cannot and whatever we discuss. And that was what drives our group. That's why we invested in education of our children even when we were not able to pay the loans. And I think it pays off crazy. So we should really trust the science in everything what we want to get answer to in Europe. That's the biggest advantage. That's why maybe our big beautiful brother over the Atlantic may lose, because they are losing trust in science.
Yuden?
Um, yeah, maybe just to answer your question, which model should be replicated? Was that the question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would just answer it by double down the what's Devan just said. There's a number of startups originating from Stanford University in US. I don't see many startups in Europe that would have in their, first line of the description that they are, they started in the on one university in Europe. So putting universities, academia, science as the basis for startups, that's something that should be we should work on.
Maybe University of Munich is next such
So,
place.
so how we did it, we because we saw the big necessity for our startups and scale-ups, right, to connect to other hubs and other ecosystems and other companies in Europe. So we said, let's do that. Let's talk to our friends all over Europe, from Oxford and Stockholm and Copenhagen and Paris. And we brought them all together, 20 people. We called it Rise Europe. And we said, now let's really promise each other we work together and support our startups and scale-ups as if they are all our own. This is how we did it. And this is what we need to push. It's so simple. We need to build this friendship in Europe. I always say we need to make Europe smaller, kind of. We need to know each other, talk to each other, and have a very short distance and connection, and then we will be able to support these scale ups easily.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for this interesting discussion. If I have to summarize it, changing of mindset, grasping the opportunities, and supporting integration and collaboration between the different industries. And on this positive note, thank you so much to the audience for the questions, for your attention, and please enjoy the rest of the program.